Oh, fantastic. Let me just, I want to make sure it goes to the feed first. Yeah, it's not quite live on social media yet. So well, but it hasn't, I'm waiting for the notifications. Just another minute.
Live from VentureX Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
Well, welcome to the week. Happy Monday. Hope it's a happy Monday for you. Hope it's a happy week for you. We are leading into the Thanksgiving season and the Christmas season. And then, my goodness, just like that, it will be the year 2022, which is, I find that just crazy, crazy tough to believe. Okay, trying to get my glasses situated here. We've got excuse me. We've got Kelly Reverb from This Pink Cloud, who will be joining us a little later this morning. You know, these last couple of years have been really trying, to say the least. You know, financially, job-wise, spiritually, emotionally, physically, it's been really tough on people. You know, I personally know family members who anxiety and depression is through the roof, and I've got other folks that I know that really have had serious struggles. One of the things that has been on the rise during the pandemic has been the use of alcohol. That's one area where they have not seen a deficit in sales, and drug use as well, and especially drug use amongst teens. And we're going to be talking about the concert in Houston here momentarily. But just wanted to preface today's show with letting you know that Kelly Reverb is going to be talking about sobriety and the holidays. I think especially when people have some time off work, or they've got family coming in, or friends, or, you know, maybe they can't be with family or friends because of issues with COVID. Or they can't travel because of issues with the airlines. I mean, my goodness, just or they can't afford the gas to travel. So just throw any of these up in the air. Any of these plates that are spinning could lead to alcohol abuse, drug abuse. And Kelly Reverb from This Pink Cloud will be talking about tips about where to go for help. That's not, turning to more alcohol use, turning to more drug use, or turning to one of these for the first time is not the answer. But then what is the answer, and how do you avoid going down the wrong path? And Kelly definitely has a vast amount of resources for you, and we're very excited that he's going to be on today. JP sends his best. If everybody can please put Stan Payton, that's JP's dad, in your prayers. He is having some, before he's able to have a surgical procedure that he needs because of an infection, he's got to have, excuse me, use my asthma inhaler right before I went on the air. Not a good idea. He's having neurological workup, and also some heart and cardiology testing, I guess is the correct term for that, testing done. So he is still in the hospital, but doing well. And then JP's just asking for the crew to get together and pray for JP, for Stan Payton. That's his dad, Stan the man, the comedian, as we like to call him. He's just a wonderful man, and we're just, Stan, we love you, and we're wishing you for all of your tests to go well, for the surgery to go well, and all issues to be taken care of, and you to be feeling better than you have in years. So we love you, and if you'll, again, just continue to pray for him. And I tell you what, my goodness, I don't even know where to start with this. I may ask Kelly his opinion on this. I've got an opinion, and again, this is my opinion. This is nothing some of this has been bounced out there in the news, but the tragedy in Houston, excuse me, y'all. Excuse me. The tragedy in Houston at the concert, the Travis Scott concert, or the Astro World Festival, if you will. My goodness, 8 dead, and the ages. The victims were 14, 16, 2 of them were 21, 2 of them were 23, and 1 was 27. And then there's another victim that they're not sure of the age. At least 25 people were transported to the hospital. Of those, 13, as of Saturday afternoon, still remained hospitalized. 5 of them under the age of 18. And for those of you who have not heard about this, I'll give you a couple of headlines from CNN from over the weekend. Members of a densely packed crowd surged towards the stage and were crushed against each other at a Houston music festival Friday night. At least 8 people were killed and scores of them were injured in the chaos, witnesses and officials say. There are a lot of unanswered questions, and this is Sylvester Turner, the Houston mayor, saying this, being quoted. Over the next several days, several weeks, could be even longer, we'll take an in-depth look at everything that took place, why it took place, what steps we can do moving forward to mitigate an incident of this kind from taking place. About 50,000 people were at the sold-out Astro World Festival at NRG Park, the stadium complex where the Astrodome and the NRG Stadium stand when the incident began, just after 9 p.m. Central Time. Videos from the event showed the performer on an outdoor stage, rapper and event organizer Travis Scott pause and look in confusion as an ambulance with flashing lights moved into the densely packed crowd. Once Scott started, all AGLL broke loose, concertgoer Alex Guavin, 23, told CNN. All of what is to be 50,000 people ran to the front, meaning the stage, compressing everyone together with little air available. He went on to say that there were mosh pits in every single direction, and that's a direct quote from this concert goer. The company responsible for organizing the event, Live Nation, issued a statement saying they were heartbroken for those lost and impacted. We will continue working to provide as much information and assistance as possible to the local authorities as they investigate the situation. And this is a statement, again, from Live Nation. I realized that people were dying. People were described being increasingly squeezed in the minutes before Scott's performance began, and then feeling crushed and seeing others pass out and scream in terror once the show started. The crowd was squishing me so much that I felt like I couldn't breathe. Emily Mangua, 22, told CNN, I started screaming for help. I felt so scared, like I was going to die. The amount of people I saw get hurt, passed out, bleeding, crying is crazy, she went on to say. Then Scott came on stage. Everything started to happen, an audience member, Anita Amper, said. People just went berserk. I realized that people were dying, Amper, 22, told CNN. The crowd, for whatever reason, began to push and surge towards the front of the stage, which caused people in the front to be compressed, Houston Fire Chief Sam Pena told CNN on Saturday morning. People began to fall out, become unconscious, he said at a news conference. Another woman in the crowd, Madeline Eskins, ultimately passed out and was apparently crowd surfed to safety, she wrote in an Instagram post. As a timer on a screen counted down 30 minutes to Scott's performance, people compressed up against each other and were pushing forward and backward, and it got progressively worse, Eskins told CNN on Saturday. I was having constant pressure in my chest, constant pressure on my back. From the side, I was being squeezed. Right when he started performing his first song, I looked at my boyfriend and said, we have to get out of here. He said, I can't. We can't. And I just remember looking up and passing out and then going in and out of consciousness, she said. She remembers being pulled over a fence and ultimately waking up in waking up for good in a chair, she said. The deadly surge came hours after at least one person was injured when people rushed through the VIP entrance to the event in the afternoon. And it came 2 years after 3 people were trampled and injured in the same festival, many being rushed to enter in 2019. Friday's horror brought an early end to what was supposed to be a 2-day event, as Saturday's portion was canceled. Astroworld was in its third iteration, having been launched by native Houstonian Scott in the 2018 park, which used to be the site of Six Flags Astroworld. More than 300 people were treated at a field hospital, and then, like I said, a number of folks were rushed to the hospital. One of the patients hospitalized is 10 years old, and at last check was still in critical condition. And it goes on to talk more specifically about some of the injuries. This is to say this is a horrific tragedy is my goodness, just about the understatement of the year. This is my opinion. I've heard a little bit of rumblings, and some of the stories I've read over the weekend and a couple of news stories I listened to talked about drugs. Of course, you know that there are people saying that they were pricked with what turns out to most likely be needles, including one EMT who ended up having a drug in his system. They are saying that drugs, and in my humble opinion, and again, I was not there, I'm a big old concert goer, and I'm real big on concert safety. I used to be the one back in the day down in the mosh pit. That doesn't happen any longer, but concerts, while you've got to know your audience, and I, in my opinion, and I would love to hear what anybody else thinks about this. I really think they should have known their audience. First of all, there has been a history of people at Travis Scott concerts rushing the stage, everybody's smashing into each other, and at some point that just gets to be too much for your body. There's one thing when there's a mosh pit, but you can still move around, and you've got at least that little bubble right around you, or maybe you're shoulder to shoulder. Shoulder to shoulder is different than back to chest and chest to back and side to side, and everybody crushing in on each other. This is, and I wasn't there, but this is the kind of concert and music where you end up having a lot of rave drugs used, and I've heard some reports on this, but again, this is just my thoughts on what maybe went wrong and how to avoid this tragedy in the future. Rave drugs are the kind where you, like Molly and stuff like that, where you hallucinate and you're just kind of in this state of euphoria. So that kind of takes you out of a state of reality of what's really going on around you. So you're not necessarily going to be making the best decisions. I'm sure there was lots of alcohol out there, but knowing this in advance, knowing that you've got a young crowd, a crowd that's been basically cooped up, for almost 2 years because of a pandemic, everybody's out here and, excited and wanting to hear this artist. And then, like I said, then the possible use of drugs that give you a false sense of security, or a false sense of bravery where you do something without thinking that normally you wouldn't have done in a normal situation. I think this is where they should have had fewer people. And I know that means not as many ticket sales. It is what it is. Safety comes first at a situation like this, because now this is one of those things where I would imagine all outdoor concerts are going to be looked at as far as what is maximum capacity. My daughter and I just went to the Jonas Brothers the other night, and we were out on the lawn at what used to be Starplex. Is it Dos Equis now? Yeah, I think it's Dos Equis out at Fair Park. And it was crazy crowded, but it was more like shoulder to shoulder. You still had enough space to put down, like, a small blanket or like a little lawn chair. You've got to know your audience. If this is a young audience that's not necessarily going to be thinking, if this is a young audience with music that attracts people who do rave type style drugs, that, like I said, give them this false sense of security and euphoria, then should we be really monitoring and limiting how many people are at a concert like this. Again, knowing that you've got a more immature, for lack of a better term, audience, and that's not a slam on anybody at the concert. Just look at the age of the people who were killed. They were babies, 27 years old. In my almost 55-year-old mind, that's a baby. That's just somebody starting off life. You've got the majority of the people in the hospital were under the age of 18. This is a horrific tragedy. So and let's see, the film footage, Coach Quigley said, the film footage of young kids rushing the gates, passing security, fighting to get in for free. It was disturbing. And for the show to go on. Yeah, that's another disturbing part of this. And I want to report on that later when we have more on that. Did the artist, if I would have seen ambulance, I don't know. I think I would have stopped and said, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, everybody be still. Or I don't, and again, you can't judge when you're not in that person's place. But it seems like his bodyguards, the people in charge of his security would have said, stop the show. To me, it seems like there probably should have been more security, better barriers, so it was obvious you couldn't get in. And I'm sorry, if you've got to hire, 50,000, bodyguards or security folks, guys to just be in the bright yellow, shirts and line up and tell these kids get back, or else you're getting kicked out of the concert. You have to do whatever you have to do to keep these kids safe. Ann said she heard on an interview this morning that a young lady said that the drug stuff was baloney. The band refused to help. Interesting. I obviously was on the road this morning. I didn't see that, so this is interesting. Wow. The coach said the show continued for 40 minutes. And Dr. Good said, and who's worked with kids her whole life, just like Coach Quigley has, said it doesn't sound like they took enough precautions based on what happened last time, and I agree. Just such a tragedy. I feel like this could have been avoided. You have to, at concerts, you have to know your audience. If it's going to be and I'm not making fun of these artists because these are artists that I've seen and I love, but if it's a Neil Diamond concert or a Barry Manilow concert, yeah, pack the lawns, because none of us are rushing the stage. We've all got bad knees, bad hips. We're not going to be doing a mosh pit. But at a rapper's concert like this, that again has a history of having people not following the rules, ignoring and trying to get into places for free, trying to get into VIP places when they don't have a VIP pass. All of that makes a difference. So if you know your audience, you've got to take care of them, and you've got to know that in advance. I just feel like this could have been avoided. From what I've heard on one of the reports this morning, there were already lawsuits being filed. We just ask for prayers for the families who have lost these babies, these children, and these very young adults. We pray for the health and well-being of the people who are still in the hospital, and pray that the mayor of Houston and Live Nation and Travis Scott, everybody involved in this whole thing looks at things like this differently. Again, you're coming out of a pandemic. Well, kind of not. You've got all kinds of crazy scenarios going on in the world, and then you've got this tragedy that to me, it seems like the writing should have been on the wall. And like I said, that's not news that I'm reporting. That is just my humble opinion. Take that for what you will. And we are going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Denver Broncos, but I'm going to wait until my brother's on the show. So anyways, just please pray for these individuals who were involved, and pray that they get to the bottom of this, because there will continue to be concerts like this that attract the younger crowd, that attract folks who are going to be passing out drugs like they're candy, unfortunately. So we've got to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I'm going to get my brother's opinion on this. Do we have Kelly Reverb joining us now? Excellent. All right. Hello, Kelly Reverb. How are you?
Hey, what's up?
What is up with you? Do we just get your name today? We don't get video?
Yeah,
Okay. We just get audio.
You can't. Oh no, you can get video. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Okay. I was gonna
That's
say, it just
fine.
says
No.
Kelly.
Hold on just a second. I gotta start my video. Sorry.
I
Are
was-
you like actually on the air?
We're on the air live. There
Sweet,
you
I
go.
love
There's
it.
your smiling face. Good morning to you, Kelly Reverb of This Pink Cloud.
I had to take Samson out. So
Oh, there you go. Samson is his dog, who is just cute as all get out, and yeah, just we love Samson. Give him a big old hug and a kiss from his Aunt Kathy. Okay, Kelly Reverb obviously is Kelly Reverb of Kelly and Kathy Partridge, siblings in real life. So, and we're always having a good time. Kelly, well, he and I were talking about Saturday night. We're chit chatting about Kiss. We're talking because the concert, this Travis Scott, and I want to get your opinion on what happened there. But we were talking about this concert, and some people are saying, "Oh, there were demonic overtones," and you're hearing everything kind of being thrown out there. And we were saying how our mom, who very strict, very Catholic, very Christian mom, raised us. I always thought, if I misbehaved, I was going to be, at an all-girl Catholic school, being taught by nuns. But she, we even got to listen to Kiss back in the day, and that's still to this day one of our favorite bands. And you're welcome, Kelly, that I introduced you to the band Kiss. Oh,
please.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's another discussion for another day.
Oh yeah,
but
that's a full on. That is a full on. I will filibuster
Yeah.
on that one, Kathy.
That literally could be a telethon.
That did not happen.
Well, all right. So I am so proud of my brother. How long sober now?
Oh, I don't know. Like, I would
well
say
over a year.
probably a year and like 4 months or something like that.
That's just great. That's just fantastic. Well,
and actually, this Pink Cloud has been on now for a year.
Wow, have we hit the 1 year anniversary for This Pink Cloud?
Yeah,
I love it. Well, This Pink Cloud comes on the JPK Broadcasting Network every Friday. Phenomenal show. First of all, very enjoyable. Kelly and the guys and the folks who he has on as his co-host and his guest, always entertaining. And what I really like about the show, Kelly, is y'all talk about your sobriety and your past decisions when it comes to alcohol or drugs or whatever the DOC, drug of choice, I've learned that on your show, was. And y'all are non-judgmental. I think so many times when you hear people talking about drugs and alcohol, it's kind of with that finger wagging, kind of the...
Well, there's definitely a stigma attached.
Yeah, and I love it on your show. There, it's a judgment-free zone. It's like, hey, you know what? This works for us. This works for this guy. This works for this gal. This could work for you. Before we get into the discussion, which is a very important discussion, which is Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up, drug use, alcohol use is at an all-time high. Kind of how do we help? I want to get your thoughts. I was just talking earlier before you came on about the Travis Scott concert where we've tragically lost 8 very young people. And I think it's one of those things where you got to know your audience and you got to know, and there was a past history. You've got to know that these are going to be kids who are rushing the stage. That kind of music usually attracts like the rave kind of drugs like Molly and some of these drugs that promote euphoria and give you a false sense of security. Do you have any thoughts on being somebody, you're a professional DJ, you're in that world, you've done big outdoor venue concerts like this all over the country. What are your thoughts on how do you keep kids safe at a venue like this?
Well, I mean, that's a really tough thing to navigate, to be honest. I mean, and the crazy thing, Kath, I don't know if you know what fentanyl is, but fentanyl is actually...
Yeah, as a matter of fact, talk about that. I've heard you guys talk about it, but I want you to take it away and talk about this.
So basically, I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Oxycontin thing.
Yes.
Right, and how Purdue, they finally came down on the family and all that stuff that was behind Purdue. Don't know if you know
No,
that.
no,
But,
I don't know about that. Enlighten us a little bit, because I don't even know what you're talking
well,
about with Purdue.
I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
I can't remember the family's last name because I'd love to put them on blast.
Okay.
But yeah, so they were basically, it was Big Farm, and they were saying OxyContin was not addicting. So yeah, and they were
Okay.
they were selling it. They had little songs made up about it and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, it's highly addictive. So basically, what happened? OxyContin got really hard to find, and then the cheaper, more addictive substance that the powers that be out there found was fentanyl.
Okay.
So,
and so that's and fentanyls,
so,
we've got issues with that. I know that's something we've been following, like with Congressman Taylor and with Senator Paxton, about how right now, especially with the borders being more open than they were this time a year ago, fentanyl, it's just a big old, it's out there, it's cheap, 10-year-olds can get a hold of it.
Yeah. And it's really scary because, I mean, it really is a powerful substance as far as like overdosing and regulating it and what the recommended dose. You know, I mean, the thing is people are just getting it and overdosing. So, you know, that's happening, and it's pretty commonplace actually. So.
Well, and that's heartbreaking, and those are two of the drugs that I've heard mentioned or read in different news stories from the concert this weekend that were just out there and, you know, in abundance, I guess, for a lack of a better term. So in a situation where you have a concert like this, you know you're going to have young kids who aren't following the rules, who might be on drugs for the first time, might have been, you know, taking drugs and they didn't realize it because, it, you know, somebody can drop that kind of stuff in your soda, you know, soda can. God, soda can. Good night. I sound like I'm 102.
Yeah. How old are you?
Golly. Wow, Kathy, let's age yourself a little bit on the air.
And those kids out there taking
on my
taking
lawn.
the pot.
Yeah, taking the pot.
The kids out there taking pot.
Yeah, taking pot. Oh, gosh. Well, so, I mean, could this have been avoided? Is this one of those things that in the future, do you see venues like this?
I mean, the thing is, you know,
streamlining them?
Kids are going to be kids.
Right.
Kids want to do that, and the thing is I mean, really, other than banning the substance altogether, I mean, it's definitely epidemic proportions right now.
Right.
And I mean, you know, these kids think that they can just go out and have, you know, just have a good time, like, you know, maybe like we did, Kathy. You know, at some point.
Yeah, but we didn't, you know,
they just don't realize the danger that's out there, and the you know, that there's actually, you know, a mortality rate involved when you're taking, you know, street drugs.
Now, but I've got to set the record straight. There were no street drugs in back in the day for me. But you know what? It was Strawberry Pink and Tickle Pink and Strawberry Hill. You know, and I drank it with a straw.
Look,
you know,
and I'm not saying that you partook, but back in your day, it was when MDMA was legal.
It was that's ecstasy, right?
Correct.
Yep, and that's one of the drugs.
And they would just pass that out on trays
at the Start Club. Well, and so that's like, I'm talking about these kinds of drugs where it gives you that sense of euphoria or that false sense of security. And when you're a kid, I'm sorry, you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. You haven't lived life yet. You think you're invincible. You think you're going to live forever. So my question to you as somebody who's an event planner, and then we're going to start talking about sobriety and the holidays, is somebody who's headlined events, you know, has planned events. Do you think in the future you see the number of people just even allowed a general admission ticket or a ticket period to these kind of concerts? Do you see that number going down? Because you're right, you can't control who brings. And isn't Molly and MDMA? Isn't that one of those kind of drugs?
Well, yeah. Supposedly, what I've heard is Molly is just the more of a pure form of ecstasy, but who knows?
Okay. Okay.
I do not know personally,
Yeah.
but
Well, and again,
you know.
this is one of those things. A lot of the drugs that kids take at a concert like this are the drugs that give you a false sense of security and give you that euphoric feeling that I can do anything and I can rush
Well,
the
yeah,
stage.
and I mean, but the thing is, Kath, when you're getting drugs, they're not FDA regulated.
True. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so you have no idea what you're getting, Kath. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's true. That's so true.
these are people pressing up stuff, in their basement, and I mean, shoot, it could be in Iowa for all I know.
Right.
I mean, I have no idea where it
Right.
comes from.
And you have no
But
idea
I
what's
mean,
in it or what you're
these are people that
ingesting.
are just manufacturing their own pills and,
Yeah.
hoping for the best, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
And sometimes that doesn't work out so well.
then it's like you said, the younger people have a tendency to think that they're invincible and, they're not.
Yeah,
So.
and it's just again such a tragedy. We don't know if there's a right or wrong
Well, and
answer,
I
but you're
also
dealing
think,
with a
I mean,
lot.
that was not necessarily all drug related. I mean, I also think it was a crowd control issue.
Exactly. And so then my
So,
question becomes,
I mean,
do you
and
limit
if
the
you
number
look
of
back in
people there?
history, that's happened before.
Yep.
Like there was actually like a Who concert back in the 70s where people got trampled.
Yep.
Because, it was just general admission and everybody was rushing in, and I
Everybody
think it was
wants
that
to be
kind
up
of
front.
situation. So, they maybe, I mean, obviously I can armchair it.
Right.
But I would say, maybe within the facility itself, have some kind of, I don't know, divider or something. I mean, how can you control, I mean,
I don't
Kat,
know.
honestly, okay, look, 13, 14-year-old Kelly at the Texas Jam, right?
Yep.
I mean, people are going to want to be up front, and, it gets a little dicey. So,
Yep.
And especially if you're on fentanyl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're just, again, you're not thinking, and you're right. We are literally just armchair quarterbacking this today. I just got a report that there have been 3 lawsuits filed. I think we're going to hear a lot more about this, but I think this gets us into the topic of drugs and alcohol are, especially drugs right now, are readily available. The one industry that has not seen any kind of a hurt in business during the pandemic is alcohol sales. There are a couple of places I'll go whenever we get something, and you know me, I'm always chatting with the manager wherever I go, and I'm always asking, well, how's business? And they're like, we can't keep it in stock. It's a matter of it's out on the shelves and it's gone. People, since a lot of people aren't driving into work, you've got day drinking, you've got people drinking into the night because they don't have to worry about getting up the next morning until right when work starts. So you've got a situation where alcohol and drug use is up in kids. Also in adults. There are a lot of adults who are drinking on a daily basis who maybe were in every so often a beer or a glass of wine on the weekend kind of a person. You've got Thanksgiving holidays coming up. You've got Christmas holidays coming up. You've got New Year's. How do you navigate that if you want to stay sober or if you need help and you need help before the holiday season?
Well, I mean, that's a lot to address in one question, Kathy.
And go.
Okay, so people drink. So how do you stay sober?
Yeah.
Can you be more vague?
I know. That's why I'm leaving it up to you to answer it.
Oh, well, but I mean, okay, so the thing is people usually, abuse alcohol or use alcohol to avoid, social settings like, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff. They do that because they're not comfortable in their own skin. And, it takes you a while to admit that. And to be honest, I mean, with me, personally speaking, I didn't think I had a problem, you know?
Right.
And that is in the big book in 12-step recovery, they always, you know, that's the first step is
Right.
admitting that you're powerless over, you know, your substance or your DOC or whatever. Which, you know, that's really probably, you know, a really hard step for somebody to admit. You know, I mean, personally, I was thinking, oh, I'm just a little bit out of control.
Right.
But then, you know, with the window of clarity, I was like, no, I was really out of control.
Right.
So, I mean, that's really fundamentally, you know, people drink because of past trauma or because they're not comfortable in their own skin or they want to feel comfortable in their own skin. And that's why people use drugs and alcohol, period. I mean, I can't think of another reason, you know, other than they like the effect.
And you know, it's interesting, Kelly, you said you mentioned that they don't, and you've mentioned this on the show, and this has been a real eye-opener to me, because I think that feeling comfortable in your own skin, I don't think a lot of people, when they're drinking or using drugs, I don't think that's what you think, that you may be feeling it somewhere, but it's like you have to dig deeper than the surface of, that's so-and-so. He always has a good time. Yeah, dude, he's always the bartender. Or he's always, you know, doing shots. Or she's always, she's alive for the party. She always at least has one bottle of wine. Because society has made it to where, oh, no, that's the fun person at the party. Well, that might be the person who's struggling the most.
There's that whole mommy wine culture thing.
Yep.
And, you know.
Yep.
I mean, so they've, you know, and I don't want to sound like I'm a party pooper and I'm like some teetotaler or anything like that. I'm like, hey, man, if you can drink and successfully navigate it, then, you know, have one for me.
Yeah.
Please.
Then knock yourself out. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where on your show, your guests are always like, hey, you might think you're the person who can have a few drinks and drink, you know, social drinking, I guess is what you call it. But y'all are like, you know, that when you're drinking at home alone or when you're going to, you know, making the rounds and making sure you don't go to the same liquor store too often, you know, or you're hiding it from a spouse or a significant other, those are all red flags.
If you don't think you have a problem, then just quit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or just quit for a little period. Just, you know, just test yourself.
Yep.
You know, I mean, just hey, okay, well, there might be a problem, you know, and then if there is, you know, start taking steps to deal with that issue, you know? I mean, if it is an issue and if it is something that you cannot control.
Right. And I think that's another thing I love about your show, and it's on every Friday from 10 to 11, and then you can go to This Pink Cloud on YouTube, Facebook, any social media site.
Yeah, thispinkcloud.com will take you to the YouTube channel.
Perfect. And that way you can go and see back shows. This is something, and you know, I've had some friends reach out, and then I've put them in touch with some of my friends in touch with you, because, you know, they're like, hey, I've got a family member or you know, I know somebody who is struggling. I think they want help. Again, This Pink Cloud is a very non-judgmental, safe place. And another thing, and let's talk about, first of all, where would somebody go for help if they think, hey, the holidays are coming up and I'm having trouble? Where would they go?
I mean, it depends on the person.
Okay.
And it depends on the situation because everybody's different. And, you know, like what we celebrate on the show is we always say multiple pathways to recovery. So what might be a good fit for me is not a good fit for Brett.
Right.
I always like to put Brett on blast.
Yeah, Brett's like, oh, he's shaking his head.
I like to make Brett feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, Brett he's like the nicest kid,
obviously
you know.
Has no problem.
No, has no problems at all. He's got a full-time job and going to school full-time, you know. I mean,
right. I know. I always just like to But no, seriously, I mean, what might be right for me is, you know, not the same path for everybody. So the thing is like I said, you know, I mean, if multiple people are telling you have a problem or people close to you are telling you you have a problem, and chances are you might want to do some investigation and look
Okay.
into that, and just be honest with yourself. I mean, are you, you know, is your life manageable? Are you navigating life successfully?
Yep.
And it's just a lot of questions. It's a lot of introspection that you have to realize. And like I said, I mean, it took me the full 30 days of rehab to realize that, oh, maybe normal people don't do this. I mean, I was just like, oh, I'm the DJ. I'm supposed to party. It's part of the gig.
Right. Right.
But then, I'm also the guy that starts to, black out in public places when, I'm supposed to be working. So,
Yeah, which is not a
then,
good thing.
I'm just like, oh, wow, that is a problem. But I mean,
Right.
as to the question, I mean, some just 101 basics. I mean, if you think there might be a problem, there's always a 12-step meeting. There's literally a 12-step meeting for everything that you could think would be an addiction or wouldn't be an addiction. There is, 12 steps. They've basically kind of taken that and adopted it to things that aren't even to do with drugs and alcohol.
Right.
I mean, there's, like Overeaters Anonymous.
Right. Yep. Well, it's
So,
it's a coping mechanism that's not a healthy coping mechanism. And
right. And
yeah,
that's really what addiction is.
okay.
I mean, to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, people overeat because
Yep.
they're uncomfortable, or that's what makes them feel comfortable.
Yep. Yep, that's
I mean,
true.
and it's, with alcohol, and it's because, you don't feel comfortable in your skin, or you're not used to feeling comfortable in your skin. I mean, my situation was I didn't feel comfortable, and I mean, I knew that alcohol would make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then it would also make me feel like shit the next day,
I was going to
and
say
then I would
then
have to drink
yeah,
more, and then
it's a cycle.
it just slow played you.
Well, and that's
It's
another thing from your show that I've picked up on is this is true of the folks on your show who have abused either alcohol or drugs. They talk about how it is a vicious, horrible cycle, because you're right. The next day you wake up, you don't feel good. Well, guess what? You still have to work, or you still have to function and do whatever it is you've got to do, when you're
drink your
adulting.
way out of it.
And that's what you would say, that you'd be like, I'll just take a little sip. A little
Just
what,
drink
hair of
my
the
way out
dog,
of it.
yep,
Yeah.
hair of the dog that bit you, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
And then so then your body never has a chance to recover, and then the poison and the toxins don't even have that 24-hour period to leave your body, kind of a thing. And another thing on your show, and because we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left, I want you to talk about all and push people to your show however you have to do it. I had no idea that there's like this whole sober community out there, and I think it's
Hmm.
fantastic. I mean, sober yoga, sober goat yoga, rock climbing, all these things. So
Hmm.
talk about this whole sober community
All
that
right.
y'all are
Well,
putting
yeah,
out there.
and I mean, this is also can tie into the last question. Like, I mean, I was talking about 12-step meetings, but other than that, there's a whole set of, I mean, of things that you can just, if you're like, I always like to use the term sober curious.
Yes,
That you can just dip your big toe into, and it's not like some kind of crazy secret handshake or, different step work. I mean, this Friday, I have guy Steven Vega from the Phoenix
Okay.
coming on, and the Phoenix is a nonprofit, and all they do is sober events, and all they require for you to go to one of these sober events is just 48 hours of sobriety.
Oh, wow.
Because they do like rock climbing, like you said, they do yoga, they do all kinds of sober activities, and it's free. Kayaking, all kinds of stuff. If you just go, I would have to look up the website, but they'll be on this Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. And they've got an app now, so they're all tech savvy, and it's going to be user friendly, and where you can find events and where they're at and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, love it. I tell you what, I can't encourage people. And hey, if you're having, I'm just looking in the camera and just saying, if you're having trouble, if you have a loved one who's having trouble, if you suspect your kids or your spouse or your best friend, let them just say, hey, great, great show on, man, alcohol and drug abuse is on the rise. If you want to watch, some folks who are non-judgmental, entertaining. I mean, you guys are always, the show's always entertaining. Bravo, Kelly. Can't even tell you how proud I am of you. It's just, you do a great job with this group. You're welcome. Just like Kelly says, hey, just get them to the show, get them to watch the show. You can reach out, you can message Kelly. This is completely confidential. If you reach out to me or if you reach out to JP, we will get you to Kelly. We can get you his cell phone number. Completely confidential. Again, judgment-free zone. I think you just want to give people
I've had
help.
people reach out. I've had people reach out to me regarding, like parental figures and stuff like that. And you've reached out to me regarding, people, maybe that are, like 70s, 80s, and they're, and I'm like, the thing, the really important thing, Kath, and the tough thing and sometimes heartbreaking thing is that you can't make somebody want to be sober.
Yeah. You can want it all you want. What is that saying? You can lead a horse to water.
You can want it for that person, but, maybe a good tool to help that person is, maybe like a simple exercise, like if you can get them to do a pros and cons list.
Okay. Okay.
Something like that might help, or just sit down and talk to them, or there's always the the intervention that we see on TV.
Right. So. Yes, and I think the people know, but you know best for the person, your loved one who's in trouble.
And like I said, everybody's different, and everybody, responds to different things, and
that's so true.
I'm just glad I finally responded, is what it is.
Well, so. and you just, it's so funny because we joke around, but I'm really not joking. We'll be at family events and stuff. And, I was talking to Jamie, our brother-in-law the other day, and he said, how's Kelly doing? And I was like, great. Turns out he's the overachiever in the family. I'm the slacker, I mean, it's just, and I mean that in all sincerity. I think it's great that you're doing so much. You've got so many great things going on. It's kind of like you got your life back. You said something I thought was so important about, like, you tried the first however many years drinking. What did you say? What is that saying you have?
Well, no, it's funny you said that, because I have those distinct cloud shirts that say, I went to rehab and all I got was my life back.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, that was just a play on.
Yes.
Like I went, I went to Florida and all I got was this dumb shirt.
Yeah.
So that was my nod to that.
Yes.
But so what was the question?
You were saying about how, like, you said something about how you're like, I gave drinking X amount of years or something. You kind of came to a realization.
I gave drinking 25 plus years of my life. And I never tried to be sober. There was no need.
Yeah.
There was no need. And I didn't realize until I had that little window of clarity that I didn't realize I was basically, not even really slowly, but gradually poisoning myself and killing myself. Yeah. I mean, because I talk about it all the time, how I was, full on diabetic.
And now you're not.
I was doing that to myself. I was 30 pounds heavier, I mean.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing.
Like I said, I mean, alcohol is the ultimate slow play.
Right.
Like, nobody signs up like, hey, man, I'm going to be an alcoholic.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you're going like, shit, man.
What's going
I'm an
on?
alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you even talked about, and again, I just encourage people to go watch the show because you tell your story, other people tell their story, and then you have people who have, who have relapsed, but then they've come back, and you catch yourself quicker the next time around, so you don't go down that path of losing your family, losing your job, losing your home, kind of a thing. So I just encourage people to go and catch This Pink Cloud every Friday. Go to thispinkcloud.com. Is that right?
Yeah, thispinkcloud.com, and it'll take you to the YouTube. Sorry.
The YouTube, Well, Kelly, I love you. I'm proud of you. Keep up the good work. And again, if anybody wants to reach out, I cannot tell you what a judgment-free zone this is you'd be stepping into with This Pink Cloud and with Kelly and tons of resources. I mean, we're talking professional athletes. Brian Cuban's been on your show. Mark Cuban's brother. He's got books.
To you, we have Miss Texas coming on as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're going to be talking, and this will be a good one for the holidays because it's going to be all about suicide awareness and prevention.
Absolutely. And again, so important because I think a lot of times when you're in that mindset of drinking or drug use and you're already depressed, well, okay, those are, you've got depressants on top of a depressant, and then that can lead to somebody killing themselves where maybe if
Kathy,
they would have been a clear mind, they wouldn't have.
When I was addicted, I mean, it's a hopeless state of being.
Yeah.
It is.
And it doesn't have to be. And there's tons of resources, and you every week put out tons of resources to everybody. So thanks, Kel. Love you. Tell Waverly hi and give Samson a big old kiss. I'll see you soon.
Okay, love you guys. Take care.
All right, This Pink Cloud, Kelly Reverb, especially, just kind of piggybacking this discussion on top of what happened in Houston. And Kelly's right, OxyContin, fentanyl, drugs, literally with the border being open like it is now, fentanyl in particular is, I think it's, at this point, it's more expensive to gas your car up than it is to get fentanyl. And sometimes because, like Kelly said, you don't know what you're mixing with what. And all of a sudden, boom, you've got a situation where somebody is, at death's door or possibly dies from one drug use. It's heartbreaking. So there's a lot going on. But if you need help or somebody needs help, thispinkcloud.com, and you'll have all these resources at your fingertips. We are very, very excited on Thursday. This is Veterans Day is coming up this Thursday. We're going to do our second annual telethon. JP will be chiming in from time to time from the campus that he'll be at out of town. We've got Chuck Wright and Andrew White from Kilroy's Conversation will be with us. We're lining up some amazing veterans who will be speaking or doing an interview with us, and we're going to be raising money for a homeless veterans organization, or veterans organization that helps homeless people, homeless veterans. So all of the money that you donate, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100, 500, whatever you want to donate, is going to go to a good cause, because there are veterans out there that, God bless them, they have served our country. They have, some of them, have paid extreme prices for fighting for our freedom. So on Veterans Day, if not any other day of the year, if we don't give back on that day, then shame on us. So we're definitely going to try to do our part here at JP, Kathy, and the crew, and just are very appreciative that we've got our co-hosts from Kilroy's Conversation, Chuck Wright and Andrew White, who will be helping us out on Thursday. So tune in. We'll be on throughout the day from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock here at Venture X. And then that evening, there's going to be a happy hour event for veterans up here at Venture X. So just a day full of celebrating our veterans and getting them help. Wow, we are way out of time, and I just appreciate y'all joining in with us. Cowboys lost. Oh, man, but it was to the Denver Broncos. And, Kelly and I lost our stepfather just a few months ago, who he was the hugest Denver Broncos fan. So that is the one loss I'm going to be okay with this year. And then hopefully next week we'll be right back on track with the Dallas Cowboys. Y'all have a blessed day. Stay tuned for Heart and Soul of Texas Women coming up this morning live from 10 to 11. Is it 10 to 11? Yeah, okay. Brett's like, yes. Don't you remember your own showtime? Well, Lisa and I will be welcoming a guest onto our show for our Fear Not series. So we're real excited to have you join us for that. Love y'all. Bye.